Okay, so today we will learn on how to use Python variables within your HTML to make your HTML page dynamic, dynamic. Okay, Python internally, which means your Flask internally uses a library called Jinja2. Okay, now this is a popular templating framework. The popular templating framework. So why should we use this? This allows us to make our templates dynamic, right? To create dynamic templates. To create dynamic templates, right? Okay, so what is the syntax for that? So now whenever we say render template, yesterday we did use render template, right? To render the HTML pages.
Yes, sir.
Render template, and we give our template name, right? Basically, it is a HTML page, right? Along with that, here you can also provide data. You can also provide data that has to be replaced in the HTML. That has to be replaced in the HTML. Okay. Now, in the template, you can write a code which looks like a Python code. But for that, since we use a package or a library called Jinja2, a templating framework, so it has its own syntax. It has its own syntax. Now, how does that syntax look like? So for example, let's understand. So if you use a double flower bracket, and within this, you can write your expression. Any Python expression 2 plus 2, 3 plus 3, placing a variable, right? Right. So this is basically this, whatever you place here, outputs, right? Basically adds or adds this to HTML, adds this data, or maybe let me be very specific, adds this output data to HTML, adds this output data to HTML. Whatever is the outcome of this expression adds that to the HTML. Okay. Now, if I want to use any for loop, if I have to use any for loop, right? I want to loop over certain data to repeat certain HTML tags, right? I can write my for loop. So for that, the syntax is as follows, right? For element in list of elements. It can be a list, it can be a dictionary, it can be anything, right? You can I can write the way any Python code that you iterate, right? Either it is a list or anything. Let me write it as any iterable. Okay. Between you write your HTML code, or I'm more of a Jinja, and then eventually same. Since you open a for loop, you have to say end for. End for is a single term, not there is no space here. End for and done. So in between, you can write your Python code or an expression like this, right? You can write whatever we want in between. You can also have a if condition. This is for a for loop. You can also have a if statement, same bracket or flower bracket, percentage, if, and your expression, right? Percentage, close, whatever your HTML data in between, percentage. If you open a if, you have to say end if, then percentage and parenthesis, done. Okay, or if you want to add if else also, you can add percentage if expression, right? Done. And then you can add your else, right? In between you can have something, then in between you can have something here, right? And in the end you have to say, and then you can say end of. Okay. Okay,
Yes,
so
sir.
these are the different expressions that you can write in your HTML code. And when the render template function is called, your render template function will take care of converting this Python specific or Jinja specific code to a proper HTML. So by the time the HTML is generated out of this, right, it will have only HTML code. It will not have anything. So to start with, right, so we will just, I mean, if at all, if I have to write, for example, if I write something like HTML, there is certain head tag, there is a page title, right? And let us say hello Jinja, right? And let me close my head tag. And here goes the body tag. And in between, I'm going to write my h1 tag, and I'm going to say hello, and I am going to pass certain variable here. I'm going to pass certain variable here. Right, and I'm going to close my h1 tag, and I'm going to close my body tag, and we'll close our HTML tag as well. Okay, this is our HTML. Okay, now if this is how my template looks like, so in that under the templates folder, I have created this HTML. Okay, and let us say in the Flask, I have this function at the rate app dot route hello is the route that I have created, right? Def, right? I'm going to say hello, right? And I'm going to take this name from the path variable. I'm going to take the name from the path variable. Angle brace, name, and this. And whatever is this is also sent to as a parameter to the hello function. And I'm going to say return render template. I have to give my template name. Let us say this template name is hello.html, right? This is under templates folder, right? Under templates, there is a hello.html, which is what you are seeing here. Okay. Return render template. Okay. And I'm going to give this name hello.html. This is my template name. And I'm passing a variable. Name is equal to whatever is the name that is sent. Okay. This is my keyword argument, right? I'm passing it. Okay, done. Now, when this function executes, right, what is the variable that this HTML is looking for? A variable called name. And what is the variable that we are sending in this function render template? Same thing. Now, what this does is it will go replace whatever is sent from the browser. right? So for example, if at all, if I call http colon double slash 127.0.0.1 colon 5000, which is my Flask port, and after that I'm going to say hello slash Raj. Now this name will be what? In this below URL, the name would be Raj, and the same value would be sent, and the output would be hello Raj. The output would be like, if at all instead of Raj I say Shaker, the output would be here, right? So what we are doing is here we are writing a replacing a variable with the syntax, Are we clear with this?
Clear, sir.
Clear,
Okay,
sir.
Yes, sir.
let's try this out. In the template, I am going to write one HTML hello.html, and here in the app I'm going to add a new route, app.route. I'm going to say slash hello, right? And I'm going to call one. Okay, sorry, app route slash going to use. I'm going to take Sputting path variable def hello, and I'm going to pass the same name here, whatever is given there, right? I'm going to say return render template. I'm going to give my template name, which is hello.html, right? And within this, I'm going to pass a variable name is equal to name. I'm passing that as a data to the HTML. Now, if you look at hello.html, okay, so sorry, let me have to refactor that. One moment. I created a Python file and named it as this. Right. If you look at this HTML, this doesn't have anything right now, right? So what I have to do is, right, let me create h1 and I'm going to say hello. Right here, I'm using my Jinja templating syntax and I'm expecting name here. I'm expecting name here. Okay, this is my HTML. Right now, okay, this is has to be doc type all capitals. Okay, fine. So let me save this. Okay, let me. Okay, I'm going to call hello slash right. Right, does it say hello moment now? Because whatever is the value that was sent here, right? Now, if I just say right, the same value, whatever is the value that I'm passing here in the browser as the second part as a path variable, right? The same value is basically took and rendered in the HTML. The same value is took and being rendered in the HTML. Are we clear? Now, if you see what we
Yes,
are
sir.
doing, we are taken that second part after hello, whatever is there is basically a path variable. Yes. And that path variable is taken as a parameter to the hello function. And that is passed by Flask itself. We are not passing that parameter, right? We are passing it in the URL, but from there Flask takes that and sends it as a parameter to this function, right? And here in this function, we are calling a render template method, which by passing the HTML and passing a variable as name, because that is what my sorry, hello.html is expecting. My hello.html is expecting with a variable called name. What if it is username? Now let us see what happens in this case. Let us see what happens in this case. Is it getting replaced? It is not getting replaced, right? If you see here, the output of this HTML, right, it just says hello and there is nothing there because by the time of running this render template passed name, but the HTML is expecting, username, but your render template is passing just name. And hence it doesn't match, so it is not replacing that. And hence, since it is not replacing, this will remove by the time the output of the Jinja will ensure that it will remove all the Jinja specific code, and it removes this. And in the browser, what you technically see is just this one. There's nothing. There is no more. It cannot find your Jinja code. It cannot find your Jinja code. Right? Are we clear with this?
Clear, sir.
Yes, sir.
Now,
Clear,
the
sir.
parameter that I'm passing, right? I'm also what I'm going to do is I'm going to change this as username. Let us see, right? And I save, this gets reloaded, and let us go and reload this. Right? Is it coming now? Your HTML also has the proper data.
Yes, sir.
Yeah. So this is how your Jinja templating works. Okay. Now let us say I want to load or I want to just print list of usernames. I want to just print list of list of names. Okay. Now let us say I am taking that list of names from a DB. We'll introduce the DB thing as we go further. Let us say we are taking that names from a DB. Will for now we'll just create one empty list and then send it. Okay. Yes. Again, let me just add one more route. It just says students list. Okay. And I am going to add a function, handler function as list, right? And I'm going to say is equal to, or let it be whatever it is. Right. So these are the names that I have. So I want to send this to my HTML so that HTML can take this and print them in a like the in the form of a list, right? So what I'm going to say, return render template. I'm going to say students list dot HTML and pass this data equals to students. Okay, now do we have student list.html with us? No, right? Under the templates, I'm going to create a new HTML file, right? And I'm going to name it as student list.html. Done, right? student list, and we are going to name it as body. Okay. In this, I'm going to add one div tag. In this, I'm going to add h3 tags possibly, and I'm going to say student name I want to print. Okay. And before that, I am going to run a for loop, or like maybe yeah, order list, order dust. Well, student names. Think OL only. Ordered list student. I don't know. Let me just try this. List. Name. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to run a for loop here. I'm going to run a for loop. This is the syntax for a for loop. For name in data. Data is the list that we are sending to HTML. Yes. So here
Yes, sir.
the student, I'm sending it as a variable as data, and I have to use that, right? Data is a list now, and student name, right? And whenever if I start a for loop, I have to close my for loop. How do I do that?
End
End
for.
for, right? Done. We are starting our for loop. This is like, proper Python code, right? This is nothing new, but we are using a Jinja templating engine. Jinja templating engine. So right, so I'm going to save this and go to the browser and call the new route list students or student list. What did we create? Students list. This is the new URL that we created, right? Okay. Student names. Momin, Rubina, Archana, Harikrupa, Harish. Right. So did you write did you repeat this many HTML tags? Now let us see. There are so many LIs, right? Did we write this many LI tags there?
No, sir.
Right, we just created one LI tag. We just created one LI tag in this, right? But we are looping and creating more and more LI tags with this student name. I think I have to end this here. That way it will get the numbers. Otherwise it will be an unordered list. Right. So I'm going to take this out and I'm going to call it as H3. I'm going to give this a name. And then use this. Let me just save this, go back to the browser, reload it, right? Student names 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Now I want to say, like, these are all in a lowercase. I want to capitalize it, right? Where the first character should be the uppercase, right? Your Jinja template basically also supports a filter, right? Or basically also supports a filter. How do I add a filter? Student name, and I'm going to say a pipe symbol, and I'm going to say this is same one of your string function, right? This is one of your string function. Let me reload. Now it is converted to the uppercase,
Yes, sir.
Yes,
Yes,
sir.
yes, sir.
right? So this is one of your string function. We have used this, right? We have used that one of your string function and add it as it. We call it in the Jinja templating. We call that as a filter. We call that as a filter. Student name, and there is this pipe. This symbol is called pipe, right? And they said go capitalize, right? Or if I want to be say upper, I'm uppercase, I'm going to just say upper, right? And save it and go reload it. Is it, did it convert everything to uppercase?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Right? So this is the power of Jinja. This is the power of Jinja templating, right? Okay, right. So now let us say in the same thing, I'm going to write certain, I'm going to pass another data, right? And if at all we'll add certain if condition only, then we will add a show certain output. Say if add button. Let's say I'm going to create some button. And if I start my if, I have to ensure and if also. And if, right? And done. Right. I'm going to here add a button tag and right. If add button. Now, right now, I did not pass that value from the from the handler function here. I am not passing any parameter called add button, right? Now let us see what happens when it comes to HTML. I'm going to reload this. If you see, right, in your div, there is nothing called add button. All you have is OL and ILIs, right? And there is nothing called add button. Now let me just go pass that parameter, pass that parameter. Let me just say add button equal to true, right? Add button equal to true. I'm going to save this and to render this in the HTML. Okay, we still did not get why. There should be a button. Why there must be certain if add underscore button, then we are adding a button. And this is my this is correct. And is the spelling same? Let me just quickly cross check. It is the same thing, right? I'm going to just copy this. Add button equal to true. Right. Then, okay, we did pass and we are using the same thing. Then why didn't it come? So let me just quickly checking purposes. I'm going to bring this guy out. I'm going to save this guy. Okay, it has created another div. Yeah, so you can see this, right? Add button. Now there is a button that is coming. Right. And if I just say that, just say false here instead of true. Right. And if I reload this, do you have that add button option coming now?
Not coming.
No, sir.
Right. Why? Because your Jinja template, you have added a condition which basically says, OK, if it is true, only then show it. Otherwise, do not show it. If add button, only then. Then I'm going to add else also. Else also. For both if and else, there will only be one end if. Save this. And now if I have add button, right? I have add button. Now what I'm going to do, instead of true, I'm going to say false. Instead of true, I'm going to say false. Now what does it say? Remove button, because it is hitting the else case. It is hitting the else case. But technically, if you see here, do you have, let me just open this as a page source, right? How can I go to the page source? Right, view page source. Right. In this, do you have anywhere? Can you see this is your actual HTML? Okay, that is the output of after your render template has given certain output. Now, do you see anywhere, any place the Jinja template that is present here? Jinja syntax. Can you see a Jinja syntax here? Right, you don't see it because by the time the Jinja template gives a particular output, it is a proper HTML. It will not have any Python specific code in it. It will be a proper HTML. Right, so you can use expression. If you want to print anything, you have to use a double bracket. So you have to use a double bracket. Let that go. Right, double flower brackets, and within that whatever you put, that will be stored in the that will be added to the HTML. Anything like this flower bracket with a percentage is basically a certain statement. It is not a this won't be added into the HTML. So whatever is there in this double flower brackets, only that would be added into the HTML. The only that would be added into the HTML. Right, even in the for loop here, whatever we did. So this is a proper Python statement with the parent with percentage and the flower bracket. And if I want to add the student name into the HTML, I'm going to use double flower bracket. I'm going to use double flower bracket. Now let this be. Now can you tell me what are the different HTTP methods that are there? We have seen HTTP status codes, right? In the same way, there are HTTP methods. You have something called get, you have something called post, you have something called put, you have something called there are. So the most frequently or most used one are get, post, put, and delete. Right? Get means to get data from server. Okay, either it might be HTML or certain JSON data, whatever, to get data from a server. This is the HTML HTTP method. So we send this method. Okay, right. So post, right, to send data to server. This is mostly to use create records in DB. Create records in DB. Then again, put also same to send data to server. This is mostly used to update records, update existing records to DB. And delete, right, is to delete data on server. Delete data on server, delete records. Right, so if for each method there is a particular meaning when to use which method. There is a particular meaning when to use which method. To get data from a server, get method we'll use. Post method to send data to the server. Mostly post we will use when we want to create fresh records, create new records. Okay, and put we will use to send the data to the server, but this time we'll use put to update the records, to update the records. The data is already there. Now I'm going to update certain information, and there I'm going to use put. There I'm going to use put. Right, and delete, I want to remove or delete certain entries from the DB, and we are going to use delete method. We are going to use delete method. So if you see here in the browser, right, if I go to the network tab, right, this would tell what is my HTTP method. For example, here, right, what is my request method? It is get. is get. In the same way you have get, put, post, delete. Okay, are we clear?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Now
Yes,
from the
sir.
server, we will see how to handle specific methods, how to handle request methods, HTTP methods, you can call it. Okay, how to handle methods. For example, when you say login, when you log in, basically, right, you would enter your username and password. You would enter your username and password, right? So that data will be posted to the server to validate, okay, is this username valid, is this user password valid, are they both matching? All of that would happen behind the scenes in the backend. And basically what is happening is they're sending your username and password to the backend, so that, which is your backend as in the server, right? From there they can validate it,